105 miles per hour. This is Dave Vought from Kalamazoo, Michigan in the Vought Corsair. And as a courtesy to this great pilot, Maestro, Jay, let's kick in a little music there. Typical of the period when this airplane was first introduced. It is the song from World War II called Kalamazoo. I'll tell you a little bit about Dave, and then I'll tell you about the maneuvers. He is from Kalamazoo, Michigan. He started flying with the Kalamazoo University, the Western Michigan University Flying Club there. They got into flying some of the museum aircraft from the Kalamazoo Air Zoo in Kalamazoo, Michigan. They got a wonderful museum and flying aircraft up there. He started to fly their Ford Tri-Motor on hopping rides on the weekend. Then he flew some of their other aircraft. Then he bought a North American T6 Texan, or an SNJ, no matter what you want to call it. And he did some shows in that. Then he got qualified in the fighters, like the Corsair, the P-51s. He flew a Corsair like this one for a number of years. And then he bought it and continued to fly it. He is a gentleman. He gets more out of an airplane, out of a Corsair than anybody else. He's got a series of maneuvers. We'll have you listening to that engine and also telling you about some of the maneuvers. Now, he's going to keep the power up on this pass. This should be the high-speed pass. As he comes in, the enemy had a name for this aircraft. They called it Whistling Death. At high speeds, the wind going through the oil coolers at the leading edge of the wing would set up a whistle. And when the enemy heard that, they knew they were in trouble. So Jay Rabbit has cut the music, the Kalamazoo music. We'll watch for Dave Vought to come in here. Also look at the design of the wing. They also call this the bent wing bird. You'll see a definite change in the angle from where it's attached at the fuselage, then out to the wingtip. Listen. I love the bark of that aircraft. Now, talking about the pilot, Dave Vought, and the music that's behind him, we can play that again if you want. Jay, he'll be coming in for more of his maneuvers after doing that victory roll maneuver. As he comes back around, look at the angle of the wings. You saw them fold before. Now, the Vought company had a great concept that was kind of complicated. You get the most efficiency out of a wing root by having it 90 degrees to the fuselage. They wanted to attach a very short and stubby gear on the low part of the wing for those carrier landings, which are not so much of a landing as they are a controlled crash. There is the bent wings. There's the photo pass. From Dave Vought, you get a look inside the cockpit. So in order to make the gear very short and stubby, yet to keep that big, long propeller from hitting the deck of an aircraft carrier or a runway, the wings actually had a bend about a third of the way out. Had they not, they would have touched the ground very quickly. So they solved several problems at the same time. Right there at the angle, as you saw earlier, is also where the wings fold. Told you about the speed record this aircraft made back in 1940. The production one was from the late 30s, actually from about 1940 up to 1952 or 1953, depending on whose history books you read. They were continuing to be made for the Korean War.
It's interesting to note, Danny, as he goes by, how far back he is in the fuselage. They had that big engine on the front, 2,000 horsepower, then a big fuel tank, and that made it very problematic for use as a carrier-operated aircraft. And so they actually assigned it to Marine Corps units, and we had, in 1978, here at the Vectren-Dayton Air Show, a guy who probably epitomized Marine Corps aviation of World War II more than anybody else.
And that was Greg Pappy Boyington, which books have been written about and TV series have been made. Black Sheep Squadron and Bob Blacksheep. Dave Vought from Kalamazoo. Let's keep that music going, Jay, if you will.
Here we go.
In the coordinated barrel roll music.
I got one for you, Danny.
We are
Black Sheep Squadron.
In 1978 to 76 to 78, the TV show starring Robert Conrad, chronicling the exploits of the Black Sheep Squadron, was on the air, and Pappy Boyington was here. It was what was then the Dayton Air Fair, 1978.
All right, as Dave Vough comes around, you know every air show has a president, and at the Kalamazoo Air Show in the years 87, 88, and 89, the guy that's flying for you now, Dave Vough from Kalamazoo, was the air show president. He was in charge of the entire event. He has flown formation with modern Navy and Marine Corps aircraft, and one of the few that gets that privilege. All right, Dave's extra pass, courtesy of our air boss, Gary Hay. We've got the time, so why not do it? All right, more about the great airplane. It was used, of course, in that TV series we talked about, and it was built to the tune of 12,751 or so aircraft. That may vary depending on where you read. And again, built into Korea, used by the Marine Corps as an attack aircraft in Korea. But an airplane like this in the Korean jet war, in terms of dogfighting, was the only piston-powered airplane with a Navy pilot to gain ace status by shooting down 5 of the enemy aircraft. The Marines used them as a ground attack aircraft. They upped the weight, dropped to almost 19,000 pounds of takeoff. The engine went up to about 2,800 horsepower to carry all the armament they took in to do their low-level attacks. But they were still very, very viable. And when, on an aircraft carrier, the steam catapult might have failed or broken for some reason, the jets couldn't take off without it. The Corsair was so powerful, it didn't need a steam catapult. They'd say, get the Corsairs in the air. And that piston-powered aircraft went out and did the job. Well, that was the longest production run of any piston-powered aircraft.
That's right.
Built by 3 companies, the Chance Vought Company, built by Brewster, and built proudly in Ohio, in Akron, Ohio,
By the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. And let me just share a little bit about that as he gets ready to break to land. Goodyear had been building airships using rubber to help build these lighter-than-air craft, and they knew so much about metal strength. They knew exactly how much metal could be added to a part that would give it maximum strength but not add dead weight, that they were making parts for airplanes for all branches of our military. And when Chance Vought couldn't make any more, Goodyear, who had been making tail sections for the F4U Corsair, did it, and they actually built a very rapidly built a plant not only here in Akron, but also in California, to turn out some of those over 12,000 Corsairs that were built. They called it the FG-1 Corsair, and it had one additional iteration of the Corsair that really was special. The Super Corsair.
Oh, the Super Corsair that dominated racing at the Cleveland National Air Races in the post-war years, 1946, 47, and 40, 1946, 47, 48, and the last year, 1949, when the Corsairs dominated the unlimited field in the famed Thompson Trophy race, and Cook Cleveland of Ohio won that race, and they shut the races down in Cleveland. They kicked them up in 1964 in Reno, Nevada, where we still race these type of aircraft. Now you watch Dave Vough from Kalamazoo, Michigan come in, and you'll see that tail wheel. He's going to keep it up for a wheel landing, a little extra speed and holding some power to stay with forward visibility. You can do a 3-point landing if you want, and he can do it very well, but this gives you forward visibility.